will talk to any parent. We have those categories because they feel they no longer need to listen to you either dance to their standards, if not, go away. We have schools of that nature. And maybe this becomes a wake-up call to all the administrators out there. Let us stop the pride. We are in those positions to serve.
Yes.
To serve the parents. God has called us to serve in that capacity. Let us listen to the parents, because without these parents, without your work there, so receive the parents, talk to them. Yes, the child has got an 8, and for you your cutoff is 6. You don't really, but talk to the parent. You don't need to hide away or create unfriendly conditions, or you block them from even seeing you. I mean, even God allows us to talk to him. Now, you as a human being, I think this is a mistake to managers out there and some teachers. We carry this pride, maybe because we now have the numbers, we have reached a certain level. But I call upon parents and teachers, let us listen to one another, let us welcome and receive one another. We are different with different capacities, and I think we all qualify to be attended to. And that is our key. A parent is our boss. That is our Trust High School. That the parent is our boss. And we listen to the parent in whichever category. Oh, yes.
Okay, so now let's talk about the background of the school. Someone could choose a school because of the background, or because it is a traditional school.
That is very key. That is very key. The background of the school and maybe the affiliation. It could be in the religious line or some values, because different schools have different values they inculcate in our learners, or what they call their mission or their vision. And those are very key issues. Many parents out there run for these traditional schools because of an established culture. And one feels that if my child goes through this system, this is what will exactly mold the child, the gentleman, the lady I want to see tomorrow. So it is very key. Parents, it's not a question of appreciating the quality, the beauty of the buildings. I'm not saying we should also look at dilapidated buildings, no. But the culture of the school, the tradition. I want to look at the religious aspect. There are those parents who will say, yes, the child has been in a primary school where maybe they were liberal in terms of religion. And now that the child is growing up, I would love to go to a school where religion will be very key, where religion is prioritized. If the child is a Muslim and you find the element in there is Islam, if the child is a Christian, the parent would really feel the religious aspect is very key. I agree entirely with you, but I think at times it should be slightly bigger than that, because you may find the school is emphasizing religion but ignoring some other aspects. So we need to also appreciate the tradition of the school, the culture, besides the biology, chemistry, physics, which can be taught everywhere. What else? What other added value? The 1+2 aspect, that yes, we have gotten the education, that biology can be taught anywhere. But by the time one walks out of Trust High School, or by the time one walks out of Gayaza High School or any other school, what more will have been added onto that child? If it's religion, yes. What religious aspects? I agree. Let us entirely look at that and not only focus on the nature of the buildings, but the tradition of the school. And that also takes me to the skill-based. Well, most of us perhaps may not be very skilled on a number of things, maybe because of the schools we went to that were only emphasizing academics. I think gone are the days. It's not that when you get the first grade, life is about first grades or second grade. By the way, I always tell parents, a child can get a first grade in school and lives life of a fourth grade after school.
Yes, sure.
Just because something else was not added on. So we are now looking at value added. Is the school training? It could be music, it could be bricklaying, it could be catering. Like I will use still Trust High School, where we have even vocational studies and skills that on top of academics, just teaching biology, chemistry, history, the child can still have an added value. The child can choose to do catering, to do electrical installation, can choose to do plumbing or any other. That by the time you run down the 4 years course, you have something else added. That should be very key, parents, as we are looking out for schools, especially for these grown-ups, secondary. It should not only be the tradition. Yes, it is only religion emphasized, it is only this emphasized, but what more can be acquired in that school?
Now, in that regard, most when we talk about majorly, let me deal with traditional schools. I remember last year when we were heading in for third term, some schools were like the way you talked about pride. Parents are flooding, but no one is giving them attention because the school knows we have the numbers.
Yeah, we no longer need the parents.
How about this aspect of pride that is coming in? Mostly, I'll center it to the traditional schools.
Yes, it is very unfortunate.
They feel they have made it.
Yes, it is very unfortunate. As an educationist, I feel that is very improper. And this is yet to be seen as we enter the season. That day they will announce P7 results are out. Yes. That is when you'll see this nonsense in schools. Even when you feel you have attained it all, respect the parents. Right. And parents, I must also encourage you, it does not mean that for your child to do well in life, the child must have gone through those powerful schools. Yes, I know it would basically be every parent's prayer that my child go through particular schools that perhaps I'll not mention here. But if you're the manager of such schools, we call them traditional historical schools, I think this is a wake-up call to those managers. Let us stop the pride. I will, if there was any other stronger word to use, perhaps I would go for that. Let us respect the parents. Listen to them. You find a parent crying, the child got 5. And the cutoff for that particular school is 4. And there is a battle stress. Listen to the parents. Talk to them. Yes, I agree. You may have reached your cutoff, your limit. But talking to the parent will go out very comfortable. That yes, I agree. You had given us first choice. I appreciate you had picked interest in our school. But we cannot go beyond this capacity. And we are already to our seal. And that would be understood, but not hiding away, not creating all sorts of lies. And parents, also let us play our part. It's not that once you don't go to school B, once you don't go to school A, that marks the end of the child. Most of us have taught in those powerful schools, not because we studied in such schools or went through such systems. We went through very funny schools. Perhaps that is what we could afford back then. But I think today we are somewhere. And even those out there listening, you're fighting so much for your child to go through such a school, but you did not equally go through such a school. And you are where you are. Not that all ministers and presidents went through all those powerful schools. Yes. Let us at times not create room for unnecessary stress. If school A has not given you chance, try school B and stay calm. And at times, even this stress is created by our children, because we have given children too much freedom to decide on every other issue. You find the child is putting the pressure. I want to go to this school, but the child has never even been to such a school. The parent says, I've already been given admission in school B, and the child is saying, no, me, I'm not going to school B, or else I'll even commit suicide. And you find the parent is very stressed. But if you ask the child, what is good about school B that is not in school A, this child cannot even tell the difference. Has never been there. But maybe because that is what the colleagues were talking about, and the child is totally picking interest in a particular school where he has never even been. I think we need to also talk to our children, and we don't allow the children override us in such decisions to avoid unnecessary stress.
And now I remember I went to, I don't know if they're watching, but they put me in boarding in P1. It was so hectic. And then so also joining secondary, I went to some sort of distance school. So I also want to bring back this aspect of the distance of, between the where the parents are and the school.
Actually,
how does this feel? Because
this is very dangerous. And parents out there, I think the world may never forgive you for some of these mistakes we make. You find the child is staying in Ibanda, but is studying from Entebbe.
Yes.
The child is staying in Igulu, but is studying from Kampala. It would be okay, but I think at one point it is not necessary. 30, 40 years ago, you would hardly find a good school. You would hardly find a good school. So you would find inevitably one had to move from either west to come to Kampala to identify one, or move from Gulu to come to around Kampala to get a good school. And parents would really undergo that kind of stress. Today the world is different. There are good schools everywhere. I can't imagine a child walking 200 kilometers in a bus, and you find your own tension. Have they reached well? Are they safe? You find you must call parents. Yes. Even at times when it's visitation, the parent must move a day before. Exactly. Either stays around Kampala, hires some guest house the next day to be able to go to school, or even if it's a parents meeting. And at the end of the day, not every parent can afford. There are those parents who will never visit their children throughout the term.
Yes.
When the child has any need, or the child has fallen sick, you see the drama, the stress. There are times when the illness is beyond what the school can handle. And this child needs better medical attention. But the parent is far away. At times the parent is called, even the phones are off. So I think parents, we need, as we begin a new year, we need to also think big. Sometimes it's not very necessary to move those long distances, unless when you have been given, for example, a bursary.
Oh yes.
Let's say, because there are those unavoidable situations. Like, say at Trust we give bursaries, especially to the girl child. And you find the parent has been given that kind of consideration. And for that matter, it would be okay for the parent to move that big distance because of that fees consideration. So that is perhaps understandable. But there are situations where you find the parent is paying 1.4 in a particular school in Kampala, which is equally paid in another school in Gulu. And the results, the performance is just the same. So I see so many accidents on our Ugandan roads, and at times it breeds a lot of pain. Why would my child go through that kind of stress and torture? Moreover, senior one, we are talking about senior one. If it's at A level, the parent would have this mindset: get the town exposure, you're now a grown-up. Maybe that is why at times some parents bring them to even Kampala. But I'm talking about a senior one, a P7, struggling. At times they don't even get anybody accompanying them to town. So it is not very healthy. Parents out there, as we are looking for schools, let us try to identify schools within our reach, within our areas.
This is really interesting. Of course, what to consider while choosing a school for your child is what we are discussing here, and Mr. Andrew Kyeyune is really doing us well in regards to this. Now we're going to take a very short break and come back with more, basically on the affordability, the kind of prices that are hiking up in schools. Watch out.
For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes should not perish but have eternal life.
Because once Christ warns about something, it calls for attention as believers. When God warns us about something, it means that we are susceptible to it.
Finally, be strong in the Lord and in the strength of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the schemes of the devil.
Moses, Ramesses,
You grew up together, close as brothers.
remember the prophecy. Samson, chosen by the living God.
You dare to defy me? Let the furnace be heated sevenfold. Bind them and cast them into the fire.
It begins.
Take the ark!
Welcome back. You're still watching Family Hour here at Church of Uganda Family TV, and it is a Monday. We're discussing education and career as a theme, and of course today basically we're discussing what should be considered while choosing a school for your child, in mostly knowing is that just a few days from now we shall be going back, children will be going back to school. So what do you need? What are those qualities that you need for a good school in order for your child to have better education? I'm still with Mr. Andrew Kyeyune, who is an educationist and of course an administrator at Trust High School here in Gayaza, but also he does counseling and guidance majorly for the young people in schools. This is a very big question. What should be considered? I think if you are here in the first segment, we're discussing a very good issues. Now I want us to shift the issue to the money, financial considerations. What range do you need to go to? I was seeing a meme all over social media, and this parent has children in 3 schools, and the list each school was paying was 1.8, but the biggest was 3, and another one was around 2.8. So meaning in just a single term, this parent is going to spend over 6 million just that, and that is just school fees. So what should a parent consider? What kind of range should a parent consider in terms of finances? Well,
yes, we cut a coat according to the available piece of cloth. Now, many parents, and especially ladies, I'll push the blame to that side, create unnecessary stress, either to please the community, or to even please the other women around, or to even just create unnecessary standards. Because there is always that question, where do your children go?
Oh, yeah.
And the parent would love to create some kind of standard. My children go to such and such a school, and one feels is carrying a bonus home for that reason. But I think it's very unnecessary. We need to, actually I always advise people, the only you find the fees vote is taking 60% of your income, then you're already in danger.
Oh, yeah.
We need to take our children to schools that match our pockets, not with intentions of pleasing anybody.
But how about the standards?
Yes, I'm not saying for that matter we should compromise standards, but it does not create any sense to take a child to a school where you must pick loans on a termly basis. Remember, you're not only looking at fees.
No.
You must even create other developments. These children must really, apart from fees, there are other requirements and necessities. And you as an individual, you must have value added to yourself. Not that any development at home should come to a standstill because you're paying fees. That is where I advise parents. You're not taking children to school to please any of the neighbors. Or to create unnecessary standards. Yes, every parent's dream would be to go to that powerful school with maybe some good facilities, but in a situation where you cannot afford. Remember, we are not only looking at one child. The minimum a parent has at home could be 3 kids. And even when you have 2, 3, you could even be having other dependents. So now if you must balance the boat, and we have already said you must equally cause other developments. So it should be within your range, within your income. And this is why I call all the couples out there. Let us sit and agree. Let us understand one another's income. If the mother is earning this, or she can be able to meet the requirements, and papa can meet the fees vote, then it should not leave any of the parties strained. Let us look out for schools where, first of all, we shall even be listened to in case I've brought across the partial payment. There are those schools, as we earlier on said, that have created or reached a certain level of pride, where they will tell you, it is even indicated in the circular and by the in bold, that full fees payment on first day.
Yes, sure.
Now, schools that have reached that kind of level, I think are only meant for a particular class of parents. But if I can be welcomed with my partial payment, maybe I've made 60-70% payment day one, and maybe after a month, because maybe I'm also a salary earner, after a month I make the other top up. A school of that nature that will give you that allowance, I think would be very okay for our consideration.
Right.
Than a school that gives you such restrictions. And 2, we are looking out for a school where the fees range is perhaps in line with what we can afford. And you realize, of course, most of these schools around, the fees range may be more or less the same, but at times we prefer going to distant schools, and we incur unnecessary costs. You find fuel alone is a problem. You're staying in Entebbe, the child is in Jinja, or the child is in Masaka. You're just the vote for fuel to visit or take even the child back to school is a burden. Yet we can look out for schools that are within our reach, where the fees range is friendly. And I'm not saying for that matter we should compromise some aspects, but parents, this is not the time. We should avoid that mentality of taking children to schools where the fees is on a higher note, just because we want to create unnecessary standards in the village or even in the community. And sometimes it's just the family influence. My brother takes children to such a school. How will they hear that my children are in a lower school? Maybe I should also aim at such a school. I think that should not be the question.
All right.
When it comes to the issue of finance and requirements, let us try to look out for schools that can understand us, first of all, but where even the fees range is not creating a hole or a pinch on our earnings.
Okay. Maybe let's also now talk about the contribution of infrastructure of a given school to the education system, or maybe to the child.
Yeah, infrastructure is very key. Infrastructure is very key. And when we talk of infrastructure, we should not only zero at the nature, the beauty of the buildings. Maybe we should also stretch a bit and look at things like the nature of the dormitories, power supply, water supply, the congestion or the capacity. You find a school, there is a school, I mean, I cannot just mention, where if a child must bathe in the morning, then the child must wake up at around 4 or 3. You bathe and go back to sleep. Otherwise, should you wait for the actual hour of 5, then the line is from here to maybe the taxi park. So there are schools whose capacity is beyond. And you find when it comes to even the toilet issues, there is a problem. That is all within the vault of infrastructure. The toilet facility, there is a problem. Come to the dining, students are always squeezing one another. Let us also look at the congestion in the schools. Yes, parents have already told you, once identifying a school, let us avoid adverts. Yes, an advert is just an alert, but let us get to the school and do pilot study. Otherwise, when you find a school is saying you should not even enter the dormitories, parents are not allowed in the dormitories, then you put a big question mark.
Why not?
Otherwise, I am bringing a senior one. This is a young girl. You just don't drop the child there and you go home and sleep. Get to the dormitories and look at the nature of the dormitories. Look at even the nature of the classes. Sometimes you find the congestion in particular schools is too much, but because everyone is talking about that school, that is the school they are mentioning, you feel also your child must be in such a school. But at the end of the day, the child is more or less serving a punishment. Remember, you're talking about a senior 1, 2. This beginner who has first of all been in primary, he's now joining another bigger group of mature or grown-up children. When it gets to the canteen, it's a line. Come to lunchtime, you must line up. Go to class, congestion is too much. Let us parents look at all that when it comes to infrastructure. The security, the fence. You find where the girls' dormitory, there is no clear fence. That already sends a signal in case of any external attack or threats. Or sometimes even children are given that opportunity to jump out because there is no clear fence, there is no clear security. Perhaps there is one askari at the gate who even works day at the same time night. And the question is very clear, that askari is always asleep because you cannot work day and night. And there are schools where you find the same askari doubles as a cook during the day. So there are things we must look out for. That even security in the school is very key. How many parents go to school and their intentional interest is to look at the security? How many parents will just look at the wiring in the dormitories? And that is why at times schools even get burnt, and these are things we never look at. The congestion in the dormitories. How many parents just go to the schools and only look at toilets and bathrooms? Sometimes once we have been given admission, we just thank the administrators and we walk out. By the way, parents out there, it should be site visit, move around the school, then you later pick admission. It should not be the other way around, picking admission first. No. Otherwise, you may later first pick the admission, but by the time you move around the school, it's a different story. And by the way, you cannot say, bring back my money. No, once paid, it may not be refunded. So let us be very careful. Let us look at all those dynamics. I'm very concerned with the security. I've always entered schools where you move around. Once you sign in the book, those askaris perhaps need a lot of training, and at one point we shall get there. They present you the book. They don't even mind whether the very details put in the book are the very details about you the person entering. They don't bother whether you've proceeded to the dormitory or to the school administration. That is no longer their concern. And you ask yourself, how does poison get to the children's food, or how does fuel or petrol get to the children's dormitory? I think we need to be very vigilant. We need to look out for all those other details.
You talked about population. What should be the should I say average? Maybe
I wouldn't support a parent to take a child to a school that is densely populated, a school that is congested. Yes, schools get congested maybe because they have made a name and every parent is lining up for the same school.
Yes.
But you find if you must pick the child, then they'll even tell you, senior 1 for you come on Monday, senior 2 come on Tuesday. But remember, in all these other normal operational days, these children operate together. There is no that kind of arrangement. So you automatically know the school is just congested. It's just too much. And where is the disadvantage? What happens when we get into class? The children we are giving or bringing are not of the same capacity. Maybe my child is slightly weaker and would need some special attention or an extra eye. Maybe my child is a bit lazy here and there, and in the dormitory the congestion and the pressure is too much for my child. So at the end of the day, the child is more or less in a prison, but for you're calling it a school. So we need to also be a little careful. It's not because everyone is talking about that school that you should also be forced to go into the same school. Let us consider this senior 1, 2 child. If it is at A level, maybe this one is a little grown up. Yes.
Okay, now how about the discipline of these schools as well?
Discipline is equally key. And the parent out there will be having this other question in mind. Me, who is just a parent, I've just brought my child. How will I assess? How will I know the discipline of the particular school? I want to give you just a few indicators. Just like a woman cooking food, it's all covered and just on the source of fire. How does she get know it's ready? But because she is a mother, she's trained in that aspect, she will automatically use all her natural instincts to tell that food is ready. Now me, who is a teacher, I am telling you things you should look out for, especially when it comes to the aspect of discipline. Indicator number 1 when it comes to discipline: enter any school, observe how children respect uniform. I will just stand at the gate and observe every other child When I talk about uniform, right from here to the last toe, how children respect. When you find everyone has a different hairstyle, girls have earpins, they have necklaces, no one is tucking in, or even those who are tucking in with very, very short skirts. Boys have made their trousers pipes and too short to be called trousers. I'll automatically know there's a problem. I'll even look at the dress code of the teachers. All those are indicators. Remember, you have brought an innocent soul. But the child will quickly learn those habits within a minute. I'll look at the level of communication of the children, the language they are using, the choice of words, the diction. You may be surprised to find as you're entering, children are all speaking, but actually they are busy abusing one another, and no one is bothered. No one is bothered. They are dressed poorly, and even at times you're surprised to even find the so-called matron is poorly dressed. The so-called security guards are also lousily dressed. Those are indicators. They are speaking. It's a small indicator speaking volumes about the school. You enter the school right from the reception. Look at how you are received as a parent. That will send a signal of how even your child is bound to be treated in that school. So parents, let us not close the eye on some of these sensitive issues as we are identifying schools for our children. The discipline is very key. Why am I emphasizing discipline? You're bringing an innocent child. You have toiled so much to groom your child upright. But just by the end of term 1, the child is different. You come back to pick the child, the trouser has been tampered with, the skirt is too short. Then you ask yourself, or the child has even learned how to drink certain chemicals, or even how to, the child is using a certain language, and you say, now, within just one term, this is what you are already doing. These are some of the things you did not look at, for you were just concerned with admission. After giving admission, the next question, bank slip. How much are you paying? Am I supposed to pay you or I take to the bank? Those are the only issues you're concerned with. But I think it is bigger than that.
All right. That is interesting. And now I will have parents who want to, should I say, standardize their sort of children and all that. Majorly, I want to ask to focus on the curriculum. How best can a parent tackle the issue of the kind of curriculum the school is having, so that it can suit what the parents want their children to be in the future?
Now, when it comes to the curriculum, this is standardized. You find the curriculum followed in school B. Actually, this is universal. We all have the same designed curriculum, what should be taught and how it should be taught. Perhaps the other added issue in the curriculum is what other skills or what other talents trained or helped or emphasized in a particular school. Because when it comes to biology, chemistry, physics, those examinable issues, we are just on the same level.
Okay.
What is told, you don't say in Masaka they are teaching a specific type of biology as a subject, then in Kampala there is a particular type of, no. Yeah. When it comes to that, we are all on the same curriculum. But what perhaps I would look at and maybe advise is that as you're taking your child to a school, besides the biology, physics, chemistry, what other value are they adding to your child? Is that school training music? Apart from music, are they training maybe how to play instruments, different instruments? Are they training some bit of carpentry? Are they training some bit of catering? So that by the end of the 4 years course, there is some added value. I've already told you at Trust High School, we have the vocational subjects. So that every child is at least given a particular subject, or rather a particular course or skill. If you can't try carpentry, try bricklaying, try machinery, try tailoring, try baking, so that the child identifies where they can fit, and that becomes an added value. Every end of the term, you find the child will tell you, I can now make liquid soap, I can make bar soap, I can now do baking, I can now try out a cake. You know, baking is broad, but at least we ensure that we train particular aspects. So that to supplement on the biology, chemistry, because in this world, it's not about biology, chemistry. No. You may be very good at biology, chemistry, but that will make sense if you can also have another skill, because the world will best receive you under the element of 1 plus 2. The one we can all get everywhere. The biology, chemistry, we can all have that. But what is that other 2 factor?
Okay.
Like, for example, I can easily interpret the plans for houses. I can design some elementary plans just because I got some exposure to technical drawing, at least from senior 1 to senior 2. So that becomes an added advantage. So parents out there, besides the biology, chemistry in that particular school, which can be taught everywhere, what other special skill, what other curriculum or program does that particular school you're identifying having, so that you know at the end of the day, by the time the child is done with a 4 years course or 2 years course, the child can try out tailoring, the child can try out carpentry and joinery, the child can try out some simple electrical installation or domestic installation. Those are things we should look out for as we are taking our children to school, or as we are identifying schools for our children. Oh, yes.
Maybe how about the collaboration? What role do you think the collaboration between the parents and teachers can play?
Yes, I've always advocated for positive relationship between teachers and parents. Because besides the biological parents, teachers are the second parents at school. So once there is no positive relationship, and at times, by the way, the parents break this chain. The parents either disrespect or look at teachers as lower cadres. Actually, there is a very serious problem that is demeaning the education sector caused by parents. We need to understand and respect one another. You did so well producing your child, but you're now presenting me the child so that I add value onto that child. At the end of the day, we all benefit, and the nation at large, from this child. So we must have that positive relationship. And even some teachers at times become funny to parents. So I am calling upon everyone, parents, teachers, let us have that bond, that strong positive relationship, because that is what we need if we must raise the child. This is seldomly broken when it comes to especially indiscipline cases. A parent is called at school because of indiscipline, and the parent is too bitter and abuses every living thing around, disrespects teachers, or even abuses teachers before the children. Or at times when the child misbehaves, even teachers, we may end up mishandling the situation or the particular case. So we need to agree, we are all parents in this. Let us play our cards positively as we are raising the children. Because even when I'm talking to teachers, I tell them, the child you're handling today, you have no idea of what this child will be tomorrow. Let us handle these children with respect. Tomorrow, the very child you taught can be a stepping stone for the teacher to another bigger level. Even parents, as you're raising your children, have it in mind. You don't know what tomorrow brings. Respect the teachers who are adding value to your child. Let us all respect one another. And above all, let us groom our children with this mindset, with this element of respecting elders. Because it has been seen that right from our home grooming, children don't even respect their parents or even elders around home, and they bring the same attitude, the same grooming even at school, totally disrespecting teachers. And what is very painful, at times they learn to disrespect teachers from parents who abuse openly the teacher. So that is another bigger area. But conclusively on that note, I feel we should all respect one another. That is when we shall be able to raise our children. So look out for equally a school where the parents will be respected as parents. I really feel once a parent you feel in such a school you're not respected, you're not valued, that may not be the best school for your child. Yes.
Okay, now very soon schools are going to be opening, and recently I think from last year and some years back we've been slapped with threats of the Western culture coming into our schools, like homosexuality and all that. What advice, as we look at opening the schools, what advice do you have for the parents and also the teachers who are dealing with these children basically at school?
Yes, we now have a different generation that you cannot easily understand. They're learning a lot from social media.
Yes.
parents have not perhaps played their role right, but even at times when they do their best, children discover a lot on their own through interactions with their peers. And now the challenge we are having, they have been in this long holiday, almost 2 months. They have learned a lot. Parents out there, you bought your children phones, you did so much. But know one thing, and I always tell parents, whenever you buy your child a phone, more so a smartphone, you have hired an expert to spoil your child to the maximum. The element of a phone symbolizes one thing. You have hired some invisible human being to spoil your child, because there is a lot they dig out on those phones through internet and what. But now as they get back to school, teachers, let us be on the watch out. Children are coming with all sorts of vices, which could have either been learned from home or the environment where they stay. We cannot blame this to the parents entirely, and I wouldn't love any blame to be put on this school. Because when you talk of a school, it does not produce children. These are buildings. Children are going to come from different home states, different communities. They all meet at school. They begin sharing whatever they have learned. So at the end of the day, for us, our work is to detect, as school managers, to detect any deviant behaviors. And once we detect, that does not mean this should mark the end of the child. That is now when guidance and counseling element comes in. We help the children grow better. It is very possible that at one point the child was involved in a very deviant behavior, but through continuous guidance and counseling, the child is helped to get back to the normal road. So let us help our children. We know they are coming back with so many funny habits, but it is still our role to train, groom, and inculcate acceptable morals. Parents, let us work together. Once you're called upon because of any indiscipline, let us all be positive in addressing this. We help one another raise the best generation.
Maybe just in 30 seconds, your last words, please.
Yes, as I wind up, I know grooming a child takes a community, and we are ready to support one another, especially at Trust High School, especially the girl child. We have special consideration for the girl child. I'm not saying when you don't have a boy child, you don't come. No. In case you have a boy child, we can also still help. Feel free to reach me on this number, 0776 681566, 0776 681566. We do guidance and counseling. We help our children. We are aiming at raising a better generation. Thank you so much for listening. Kyeyune Andrew is my name. Have the very best of the night.
Thank you so much. It has been a really interesting, majorly diving into what should be considered when you're making a choice of having a school for your child. I think you've really gotten enough of this, of the choices or the qualities you should consider when having this. And we don't hope you'll have challenges, since Mr. Andrew Kyeyune has given us all the insights in this. My name is Luke Majumba Lenaitwe. I have been with John Ajalo Wakavi and of course Muhumza in transmission. The whole team is really here, only that Mukalazi is dealing with the twins, and we hope he returns soon. So we wish you a very lovely night.
Family Hour, empowering families one episode at a time. Together we build strong